Let's look at the numbers on how the Seahawks are ranked 7th overall in the entire NFL in PFF rankings. You might be surprised to see that the offense is rated higher than the defense, but I'm going to give you some other numbers to think about on why the Seahawks defense is probably still better than the offense. But I like to go over these PFF ratings and see where the Seahawks rank in each category, and it kind of helps in some ways. Always, as I say with PFF, I love looking at the numbers, but it doesn't always determine everything. But it does give you some idea of where things are going good and where things might be going less good or poorly. So, overall, we'll just start with overall in general. They are currently 7th. The teams above them, you have Green Bay Packers at 1, Rams at 2, Ravens at 3, Chargers at 4, Colts at 5, Bills at 6, and the Seahawks at 7. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 teams are undefeated. The only 2 teams in that top 7 that aren't undefeated are the Seahawks and the Ravens. And they're currently at a 75.1 PFF rating or grade, which puts them at 7th in the entire NFL, which is great. And like I said, you might be surprised to see that once we go through these, that the offense has a higher rating, especially, the defense has only allowed 44 points this year. There's some teams that have allowed less, obviously, but they're more in the middle of the pack there compared to, being a bottom 8 team in points scored. But we'll go through the numbers and see why that is. Either way, I'm happy to see a team that had some rough quarters. The weird thing with the Seahawks is I thought they were going to win the 49ers game in the middle of the game. There was obviously some mistakes by Tariq Woolen, some mistakes here and there, whatever it is on the offense, the play calling. Same thing with the Steelers games. You had a really good first quarter, first drive. They scored on the first drive, kind of, dull the rest of the half. Scored on the first drive of the third, a little dull, and then things got a little more exciting again later in the game. So that's what's kind of weird with the Seahawks team is I feel like you've seen a really bad team in bunches and a really good team in bunches, which is kind of why they've put together this decent portfolio, better than I expected at 7th in the NFL. But let's start with the defense. That's where I want to start. Their current defense grade is a 64.5. Sounds worse than it is. They're at 14th in the NFL. There's how many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 AFC teams in there. So they're, 7th or 8th in the NFC. Not as high as I would like, but there's kind of one number that's causing that. I think if it wasn't for this, there's 2, I guess. There's 2 numbers. One's causing it the worst. But there's 2 parts of the grading that are making them not a top 10 defense in PFF grading, and those are tackling and coverage, and we'll get to those. But overall, at 14 for the defense. And same thing with the defense that I'm noticing, as I mentioned about the game in general. You have these moments. They gave up a pretty huge run to a catch and run. It was a reception to Jaylen Warren, the running back for the Steelers, 60-something yard catch. That was almost like 45 or 50% of their entire receiving yards for the day. So you have a situation where the Seahawks defense is locked down for a chunk of a game, and then they make some really big mistakes like that, like giving up a pass like that, made some mistakes on a couple drives where the Steelers scored. Against the 49ers, obviously the Tariq Woolen mistakes on that long throw and then on the touchdown at the end of the game. Once again, it's not coming together yet as a whole. It's like really good or really bad, which is okay. We're still on year 2 of Mike Macdonald. We're still on game 2 of the second season, offensively and defensively. Offensively, we're on game 2 of our offensive coordinator. We're on game 2 of the second year of Mike Macdonald with a lot of changes on the defense again. Remember last year they did make a lot of changes with Tyrell Dotson and Jerome Baker, and then they moved on and they went on to Ernest Jones. And then this year, they've already had one game without Devin Witherspoon. There's just been already movement going on, so it's still early. But having that number 14 overall grade is an okay start for a 1-1 team right now. A lot of the teams ahead of them are 2-0, except for the Browns. The Browns are 0-2 and have the number 1 PFF grade in football because their defense is very good, but they have Joe Flacco as a quarterback in a pretty bad offense. So that's not working for them. But the Seahawks are in an okay position. I think next week against the Saints, if you can shut down that team, which I think you can do pretty easily, as the Saints, offense isn't phenomenal, the defensive grades are going to get even higher. Let's get to, I think it's their highest grade on defense. There are 4 categories, which is run defense, tackling, pass rush, and coverage. Kind of getting all of them together here. The Seahawks are 6th in run defense or rush defense, whatever you call it, at a 74.3. And they're only 3 grade marks away from being the number 2 team on this list, but they are currently on the rush defense at number 6, which is pretty great. This team has been, I guess, what's the best way to put it? They've been a team that has been working on I want to say it right, but like recapturing the idea of having a strong defensive line. And I feel like it's been a long time since they've had a really strong defensive line, and they finally got back to this point where it's getting really strong. And it's great to see that run defense look as good as it is and be graded that high. And there's one player I want to mention. I saw this tweet from Today Seahawks or Seahawks Today on Twitter. A guy that is not showing up on the stat book probably. Defensive linemen can have a lot of impact on a game without showing up on the stat book, not getting sacks, essentially. But DeMarcus Lawrence, the veteran piece we brought in from the Cowboys this year, DeMarcus Lawrence remains first in the NFL, first in edge run stop win rate at a 63%. Which is number 1 in the entire NFL, which is great to see. A veteran piece like DeMarcus Lawrence coming up big for the Seahawks. The run defense has been great. I don't have an answer I'm wondering what their allowed rushing so far on defensively. But Jaylen Warren didn't have a great game. I want to know if I'm trying to see if I can look that up. Rushing yards. Yeah, so it's been good. We've allowed 191 rush yards compared to, let's say the Giants, who are in last place at 355. We're sitting at, it's either 10th or 11th. There's no numbers on what I'm looking at. We're either at 10th or 11th in the NFL in rush yards per game so far through 2 weeks. Can't compete with the Browns, who have 91 and the Packers at 97, but we're still pretty good up there at only allowing 95 yards per game. And the points per game have been pretty low. We're at number 8 also at points per game in the NFL. So the run defense, great. I'm going to pass over tackling and pass over coverage because those are the bad ones. And let's just talk about pass rush really quick. Pass rush is at 17th at a 65.6. It's not great. It's not bad. But I will say there are some positive things to look at here when it comes to the pass rush. And just like I talked about when it comes to stats not always popping off for defensive linemen, you're not always going to see numbers like sacks. That's the number that we always talk about, but you're not always going to get that as the only metric when it comes to things going well. For example, for the pass rush. The Seahawks currently have people tied for the first and second most quarterback pressures in the NFL. At 1, a guy we've been waiting to break out, and he seems like he's doing it, is Byron Murphy with 7 QB pressures, which is first in the NFL with 3 other guys, Carl Granderson, Zach Allen, and Jeffrey Simmons. That's amazing to see him at number 1 for QB pressures in the entire NFL. And tied at number 2 with 6 is Micah Parsons and Derek Hall. So you are starting to see guys like Derek Hall and Byron Murphy, guys that are Seahawks draft picks, guys we've been kind of, I don't like to say waiting for them to break out as if like it's been a bust or anything, but we've been waiting. Like it's somebody that these are guys that they draft and you're waiting to have those breakout couple games and see something big come. I feel like Derek Hall, we got a glimpse of it and a taste of it last year in different moments. And Byron Murphy, we've kind of been waiting for it. And these two guys are number 1 and number 2 in QB pressures in the entire NFL. That's amazing to see for the development of the Seahawks defense. And that's why I'm not worried about a lower grade on the pass rush, because I feel like maybe we're not super high on sack totals potentially. But sack totals are not the only thing that I'm going to care about, right, when it comes to statistics, because it's not the most important thing. Are you causing havoc? Are you, making things tough for people? That's what matters. Not just the main number. I think Byron Murphy has a sack and a half, 1.5 sacks. That's the most on our team. So the sack numbers aren't huge. That's fine. The QB pressures are there. The ability, another statistic here. The Seahawks, I'm going to use this chart that I saw from today's Seahawks. They have their highest, it's kind of, I don't know how to say it. It's pressure efficiency for NFL defenses. More pressure with less blitzes. So the Seahawks are on the top of the chart with the most pressure in the NFL. And there looks like probably only 4 or 5 teams with less blitzes than them. So this defense is finding a way. The Mike McDonald defense, who I've been waiting to see these type of things pop up on my feed all week, like the pressures, the way that they're getting almost the most pressure, if not the most pressure in the NFL with the least amount of blitzes. He's just finding ways to make this defense and make these guys really good. So I love to see it. It couldn't make me happier. Pass rush at 17. That's fine. I think it's going to keep getting higher as this keeps going. Okay, the bad one. No, I'll skip that one. I'm going to go. I'll talk about it after this. Coverage is at 19 at a 54.8. 19 is not the best, not the worst, kind of the middle of the pack. I don't have much to say about this for a couple reasons. One, we have a guy in Josh Jobe who's stepping up huge. I'm going to get to him in a second here. But stepping up huge when it comes to filling in for when Tariq Woolen's making mistakes or Devin Witherspoon was hurt last week. Couldn't be happier. It's fine. They were missing Devin Witherspoon in week 2. And in week 1, there were so many mistakes. A lot of Tariq Woolen mistakes. And I think this is where a lot of the coverage grades are going to be bad. So despite it being at 19, it's actually a little better than I thought at 54.8. And I expect it to only get better, not worse. And so I don't have much to say on this one because I'm not that concerned. Because we've had a game without Devin Witherspoon. We've had a disastrous game by Tariq Woolen. And we're still middle of the pack. But the reason we're probably in the middle of the pack is Josh Jobe. He has the lowest passer rating allowed in the entire NFL at 0. The next is Dante Jackson on the Chargers at 2.8. And then after that's J.C. Horn at 16.7. He's at 0. Josh Jobe's allowed a 0 passer rating to quarterbacks. The best in the NFL. So he's keeping them afloat on these numbers, especially with Devin Witherspoon out last week. Once again, coverage, defensive backs, a lot of these things will get better. Nicky Manwari's going to be back. You're going to have Devin Witherspoon back. The defense already putting up impressive numbers. Like we said, they're already, higher middle of the pack. The run defense is already great. Wait till the coverage gets better. Wait till the secondary gets healthy. The numbers are just going to continue to get better. Last but not least, we are last in the NFL, the worst team in tackling. We have a 36.3 grade in tackling. I don't know why. I can't tell you. I am not an NFL coach. I have played football a lot of my life. I have watched football, and I've talked about football for like 5 years now. I can't say it's going to get better, but I'm assuming it's going to. The tackling grades are what they are. There's probably some adjustments being made now. I feel like with tackling grades, unless I see some egregious missed tackles in a game, I'm not going to have much to say about it. They've just been bad at tackling. I'm sure they will figure it out as the season goes on. They might still be a middle of the pack team or near the bottom, but I'm guessing by the end of the year with a head coach like Mike McDonald, they're not going to be last place in tackling. That's just my guess. But they're in last. Not great. Let's get to the offense. Remember, Seahawks overall PFF grade at number 7 in the NFL. Defense grade at number 14. Offensive grade at number 5 in the NFL. I'm surprised. The reason I'm surprised, they are only behind the Bills, the Colts, the Packers, and the Rams. The reason I'm surprised is for the same thing that I've been saying for most of this video. I'm surprised about how on and off it's been. A great series, an awful series. A great series, an average series. A bad series, a good series to start the half. It's been so inconsistent, but the numbers are showing otherwise. It's been decent. And you can probably guess what's going to be our worst category, because that's probably what holds the offense back more than anything. And you already know what it is, but I'm not going to say it yet. Let's look at why we are 5th in the NFL in PFF grading on offense. At number 3, passing grade at an 85.7, only behind Dak Prescott on the Dallas Cowboys and Matthew Stafford in the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks are 3rd in the NFL in passing grade at a 85.7. First of all, good for Sam Darnold. He is the guy passing on this offense. Good for the receivers. I mean, week 1, there was obviously just the JSN show. But week 2, I talked about it in my post-game video on Sunday night. You had, Cooper Kupp with almost 100 yards, JSN with 100 plus. You had Torrey Horton finally get a touchdown and a couple catches. You had AJ Barner catch a touchdown. You had Elijah Arroyo get a catch. You had a 13-yard, I think it is, Kenneth Walker catch. 6 guys getting the ball, which is great. And your 3 main receivers being your 3 main receivers, which is great. And then having both your tight ends involved at least a little bit. I mean, I would like some more tight end involvement, but you can't really complain when you're looking at like a 7-catch, 80-yard game for Cooper Kupp, and you get a 10 catches, 100-yard for JSN, and one of your tight ends gets a touchdown. Overall, it's a great game, and most things are working out here. So pretty happy about it, pretty excited to see the passing grades that high, and I think they would be better. My one criticism about this offense, other than the bad grade that you know what's coming, my one big criticism would be the play calling still needs some work. It is Clint Kubiak's second game with the Seahawks. There's just some questionable things going on there. The 4th and 1 call, I've talked about it twice on this video, I think, already. And on my post-game video, I think I talked about it twice. The 4th and 1 screen pass with a bad offensive line. Not the best. So the play calling still needs some work. But 3rd in the NFL in passing. Receiving grades, they are at 13th at a 68.5. Once again, I think bad week 1, good week 2. We're probably somewhere in the middle now. If we had a performance in week 1 like they did in week 2, I would guess we're probably a little higher up in the 70s range, which would put us at 7th, 8th, or 9th in the league. But we're at 13th. Heavyweight on week 2. Like I said, ball spread out, distributed well. You had Cooper Kupp and JSN show up big. You got your touchdown from Torrey Horton. You got your touchdown from your tight end. The receiving grade is looking fine. I think it's going to get higher as long as this offense, and these receivers do what they did this week and continue that cycle. Things are only going to be positive outlook from here on. Let's look at the run grade, though. Yeah. The run grade is at number 9. At 73.2. So, surprisingly, really high. Once again, we had a really bad week 1 from Kenneth Walker, really good week 2 from Kenneth Walker. Really good week 1 by Zach Charbonnet, really bad week 2 by Zach Charbonnet. Still 9th in grades, still a 73.2. The interesting thing about the Seahawks, once again, is bad, good, inconsistent. And they're still at number 9 at a 73.2 grade. This will probably get a little higher. I feel like every year they sneak up on this. They're going to establish the run more. I think Kenneth Walker kind of proved the point this week too. Like, I am a number 1 running back. I had a bad game. Get me the ball. Get things moving. The offense will be good when I'm good. I think I've said this many times on videos, but it's like Kenneth Walker is good, means Sam Darnold will be better, which is easier on the offensive line, which means the offense will be good. It's a pretty easy cycle to me. If you establish the run, it's only going to make it easier for your quarterback. It's only going to make it easier for the offensive line when the defense doesn't know what's coming, when there's more play action, when you're establishing the run and making throws. And it's only going to make the offense better in general. So really high grade there. Really happy about it. I think it only gets better as Kenneth Walker will not show up with as bad of a dud as he did in week 1. The positive here, a 65.7 run blocking grade from the offensive line, which is 6th in the NFL. So you can see why the running game has been good. At least one of our running backs has been good each week. And the run blocking is great. To be 6th in the NFL is a very high, very good grade. And I think it just relates to, the upgrades we've made. Having Zay Grable and Charles Cross on the left side, they've looked good. The run game to the left side looked really good, especially in week 1 with those two. On the right side, obviously, Abraham Lucas, Bradford. It's not as good, but not bad either. So it's looking a lot better than it had in the past. And that number 6 grade for the run blocking is probably why the running game is higher up than expected. Now, even though the passing grades was number 3 in the NFL, like I told you, number 3, the passing game grades. As you probably guessed, our worst grade on offense is the pass blocking, the offensive line's pass blocking at a 55.4 grade, number 21 in the NFL. So bottom 11 team, almost bottom 10. This is very classic for the Seahawks. You could always have assumed it was going to be an offensive line statistic when I said who's going to be the worst grade. And it was an offensive line statistic. The pass blocking grades are awful. So one thing I'm pretty happy about, there's only 3 teams below us that have good grades also in the passing, which is the 2 teams I mentioned, the Rams, 91.8 in the passing game, and the Cowboys at 88. They're at 30 and 32 in the pass blocking category. And then the Seahawks are 3rd in passing and, 21st in the pass blocking. 3 quarterbacks that probably have a really good chance to have really, really good years. I like to look at this stuff. If their offensive line shows up decently, Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold, Dak Prescott, look out. If the offensive line improves protecting them, very good chance those guys have really good seasons. Overall, the 2 worst grades between everything was the tackling, which I feel like is obviously something there's a solution to. They'll figure it out and fill them. They'll figure it out in the building over there. And protecting the quarterback. Have a better pass blocking grade. Those 2 things picked up with coverage too. I mean, they were 19th in coverage, but coverage, it's Witherspoon's going to come back. Eamon Worry's going to be back. The defense is fine. I actually have no concerns about the defense with Mike McDonald as the head coach. Tackling, they'll figure it out. They're not going to have a bad tackling game every single game. It's going to be the offensive line that this season comes down to, and the quarterback. And I think if we want to expect a good year from the quarterback and have Sam Darnold not make mistakes, the biggest thing that needs to be improved, as always, is the pass blocking grade. Figure that out. The Seahawks will have a really good chance of being a very, very good football team this year. I'm excited, though, to be 7th overall. If you get a good win next week, you might move into a top 5 overall there. I know Power Rankings on ESPN has them at 18th or 19th. All these people don't believe in the Seahawks. Betting odds have them to finish last in the NFC West. But I say sometimes. Not always, but sometimes numbers don't lie. So PFF grading, 7th best team in the NFL right now. 7th best grade, the Seattle Seahawks. Keep up the good stuff. Let's get a win again, just like we did last week, because that was a beautiful win against the Steelers. Keep winning. Every week's a new week. Just go 1-0 every week. I can't wait to beat up on the Saints this coming week. And I'll have a video about that here, hopefully by Thursday or Friday. Let me know in the comments what you would want to watch and what you want to see. I love you all for being here. Hope you guys are enjoying maybe my little bit longer form this year, just talking like a podcast. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next few days. Love y'all.